So HBO Max is coming out with a adaptation for The Last of Us, which was probably one of my favorite games, with the exception of Part Two. Okay, Part Two really pissed me off, and I wasn't interested in it at all. The second game was shit to me. I hated every second of it. So we got Pedro Pascal playing as Joel, which is awesome, right? That's I think that's really the actor that you want for this role because he seems so really good at being this distant father figure helping this small child go to a fucking location, right? Now Ellie is a bit different. Ellie is played by, I think her name's Bella Ramsey, something like that. But the only place that I recognized her from was Game of Thrones. She plays the chick that is the Bear Island. She's the lady fucking Mormont, Lady Mormont. She plays Lady Mormont, and she dies like an absolute savage in that show. So if you haven't seen that, that's pretty unfortunate. And I just spoiled that for you. But it's been like 4 years, man. Get with the fucking program. Go watch the show. So right off the bat, the only thing that really concerns me about this show is the fact that I actually really am interested in it. And I've always said you gotta have uh, high hopes but low expectations, right? I always expect that they're gonna fuck up an adaptation, especially from a video game, and especially from a video game as beloved as this one, and especially when the director or executive producer, whatever the fucking main writer guy, he said that fans are going to be crying every single episode, and that they've really drawn out these in character connections to the point where it's going to just it's going to wrench your heart. It's going to bring in some scenes from the game that you remember, and then it's going to mesh in some new scenes. You know, it's going to be really heart wrenching and awesome. The only thing that I think of is that I didn't cry throughout the entire game. No, I didn't cry during the fucking opening scene. That I gave no shits about the daughter or any of that. The only thing that made me emotional was 2 points in the game. The one point at the very end with Ellie and Joel, and his kind of decision, the vagueness of it all, and the uncertainty and the anger that she had towards him, that made me feel like super fucking just twisted inside. And then in the second part of the Last of Us Part 2 or whatever, the only thing I felt was anger. I was just extremely mad at everyone involved in that game for the sequence they had with Joel, and then what you had to play as for like half the fucking game. I did not enjoy that. It was terrible. But there is hope for this series, and I'm excited to see it. The trailer just came out. My only concern with this show is the same thing that I've had with pretty much any other adaptation or series that I genuinely kind of give a shit about. Is it really seems like the thing that's gonna make or break this series is going to be the Ellie and Joel dynamic, and whether or not Belle and Belle and Pedro, whether or not those two actually like can embody the characters of Joel and Ellie really well. You know, because Ellie is like probably one of my favorite video game characters of all time. I just love everything about the character. I love her motivation. I love the conflict. Everything about her, just like the benign optimism that she has in the world is just amazing, and she's always cracking jokes, but she's got this tragic fucking horrific past and shit. I love it. And I just don't know if that can convey very well into a television show, especially a television show that's going to probably be limited in the number of episodes it has, right? Like The Last of Us would really need probably it probably need to do the same thing The Walking Dead did, where they just kind of stretch it out for way longer than it needs to be, just long enough for the characters to actually develop. Because, like I said, the producer, executive, whatever the fuck, who's his name, Craig Manzin, um, he said that every episode's gonna make you cry. It's gonna be such this in depth character, and that they focus so much on making sure that the characters are like to a T and accurate. And I just don't think that you can do that in like a couple episodes, especially not with The Last of Us, right? Because when you played the game, you were pretty much stuck with both of those characters for like hours and hours and hours. You're gonna have to cram that basically into just getting the gist of it. It's like if you only watch the game through the cutscenes, you probably wouldn't care too much about what happens at the end. But if you go through all the effort of, making the characters get to that end point and surviving and all this shit, then you kind of care more. And I think for that to translate better into television, you just have to add more episodes. There has to be more things in it. And yeah, I just looked it up. There's only going to be 10 episodes in the first season. and I just don't think that that's like enough. Because it seems like they already introduced the fireflies and had the scene that near the end, that the fireflies and the cure and shit. If they're basically cramming the whole first of the game into the just that 10 episodes, I just don't feel like it's gonna. I don't feel like the dynamic between Joel and Ellie is gonna be all the way there. I don't think there's enough time for those characters to really show on screen, even if you're limited to an hour an episode. It just doesn't really work very well. But again, you have this huge fan base of people that absolutely adore this game. It's their favorite game. It is one of their favorite games, and they're all fucking still mad about what happened with part two. And if you fumble the bag on this one, then people are probably going to be really, really upset, as opposed to just kind of upset like with the Halo thing. Even though I think fans were pretty fucking mad about that too. But with video game adaptations, the thing that's most important is staying true to the source material. And it so far seems like, just from that trailer and from what I've read so far, they are sticking to the source material. So it could be an absolute fucking banger. It could be an amazing show that actually does tribute to that. And Pedro is a great actor, very solemn, and he works great with characters where he only says like three fucking words, which is great for Joel. But I don't really know about the Mormont girl. From what I've seen, I don't think that she's going to settle too well into the role of Ellie. But that's just strictly from watching the trailer and seeing all the previews and shit. It just doesn't seem like it's going to work out as well as one would hope, because there's definitely a bunch of people they probably could have pulled for that role, and they picked her, and I just don't understand why. But that's just because I know a lot of her other work too, and it just doesn't seem like it would work. But that's what actors get paid for, right? They get paid to make the character come to life. So hopefully she pulls through on it. Hopefully Pedro isn't a disappointment, and hopefully they didn't write this shit to be weird. I hope it just fucking. I hope it's great, right? Like I said, my hopes are high, my expectations are low. That's the way it goes. I'm excited to actually watch this, so I'm looking forward to it. I hope you are too.